All right, my name is John Dunn, and I taught here at Newnan High School in the 1986-1987 school year. I was a science teacher. I taught biology, chemistry class. We had an astronomy class that year, and another chemistry class called, let's see, general chemistry, consumer chemistry. I taught consumer chemistry as well. That year we were doing renovations over here. We had just moved the remainder of the 10th graders over here from Central High School. And so we had a temporary classroom set up in the 200 hall at what was then part of the library. And I taught my classes there, and then we just swapped out with other science teachers to use the labs as we needed labs for microscopes or for chemistry or things of that nature. Back then, leading up until that time, I had taught at Central High School from 1976 until 1986. And at that time, Central had 9th and 10th grade, and Newnan had 11th and 12th. And on letterheads and things like that, you would see Newnan Central High School, so it really was a split campus. Students who were in the band would ride a bus over from Central High School for band practice. They would come over for football practice, things of that nature, so it was really one school with two campuses. And then as the schools grew, additions were built over here, and the 10th grade was moved over in stages. And then the last year of 10th grade at Central was 85, 86, and then 86, 87, the remaining 10th graders were moved over here. Central stayed a 9th grade school for another year or two until all 9th graders were moved to Newnan campus, and then Central became a middle school. We had, I think, probably about 1,500 students or 1,600 students here at Newnan High School at that time. I left Newnan High School after that 1 year and went to Evans Junior High School at that time as an assistant principal, and then was assistant principal there for several years, and then became elementary school principals, and then went into the central office, and then finally retired in 2007 as associate superintendent. But I really enjoyed my year here at Newnan High School. Principal that year, that was when Mr. Allen Wood was still principal here at Newnan. Had a very well-run school. We had a lot of good things going on at the school, and it was a very good year here. The faculties from the central science teachers and the science teachers who had been teaching at Newnan merged very well. Everyone worked together very well, and then they were able to move to the new science building, I think, the next year. And everything did very, very well.
What makes Newnan High School a special place in the community?
I think Newnan High School is, even though it's a Coweta County school system now, Newnan High School has been around for, I guess, 100 years almost. And it was the high school for the city of Newnan for years and years. I think that is what, really what makes it so important. And when Newnan High School started, there weren't a lot of public high schools in Georgia. Not a lot of people went to high schools. Not every city had a high school. So that was really a very strong point for the city of Newnan at that time. So many generations of people have gone to Newnan High School. I think it is probably what one of the main things that makes it a very, very important part of the community. And also, new people coming in the community, when you drive up, when you think high school, you see Newnan High School looks like a high school. It's the classic two-story brick American high school. It just kind of checks all the boxes, as people would say.
Nicholas Petty, please go to the front office and call home. Nicholas Petty, please go to the front office to call home.
Some things never change. There are always announcements. But I think, again, it's the many generations of people that have gone through the school, and it's been here for a number of years since this campus was started. But the original school, of course, as I'm sure research shows, goes back to where the city park is now on Temple Avenue. That was the old original Newnan High School that was built over there, and then moved to this new building, I guess, in about 1950 or so.
Can you remember any historical events that occurred during your affiliations with Newnan?
86, 87, basically not a whole lot in that year. You know, it was not a real big presidential election or anything of that nature. That would have been in 1988. The economy was generally good. 86, 87, we were coming out of a recession, finishing out the Reagan years. We had a string of, in the 80s, early 80s into mid 80s, prank bomb threats were big then. You didn't have the way of tracking cell phones and that kind of nature. And back then it was mainly pranks. Kids would call in and just to get everybody out of school. You didn't really have the concern with terrorism and so forth like you have today. We took them very, very seriously. You had to clear the building. You had to check everything out. I believe we had one or two of those over here. Those were pretty well dropping off by that period of time, though. Space program, of course, was still going pretty well. That was the early years of the space shuttle. We'd already had the Challenger disaster. It happened a year or two before. But there were not a whole lot of real big historical things going on that really jumped to mind of the year I was here.
What was the student body like, from what you remember?
Student body, very much like it is today. Again, you probably want to check the enrollment, but we were around 1,700 students. The campus was a little different. The new library was not here at that time. The library was in the upper part of the 200 hall. The new gym wasn't here. What is now called the old gym was the gymnasium. You didn't have the new field house in that gym complex. Of course, that was before the major renovations that were done here at Drake Field as well. But student body, good mix of students, well behaved for the most part. You know, you would have your occasional problems, but discipline was not iron fisted here at the school. But, you know, everyone knew what was expected of them, and the administration, Mr. Woods and assistant principals and the teachers all expected good behavior from the students, and for the most part, that's what we got.
Can you think of one word to describe Newnan High School's presence in the community?
One word description, I think, would be steadfast. It's kind of a symbol for the community, and I think people who went here, people who taught here, people whose parents went here, still see it. Generally, it looks the same from the road as it used to, and it's just kind of a steadfast beacon, if you will, of continuity in the community.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. I believe that was pretty well covers everything.
Thank you for your time today, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome.